Hi, everyone. My name is Bob Jablonski. I'm an enrolled agent, an EA. My firm is Bob Jablonski and Associates. We're located right outside of Dallas, Texas, in Richardson, Texas. And today, I want to talk a little bit about what should you do if the IRS has levied your bank account. And just a quick thing about us: we're predominantly a tax firm. We provide tax preparation and planning for both businesses and individuals, and our specialty is representation for both the Internal Revenue Service in the state of Texas with taxpayers who have tax debt issues and or audit issues. And so just to kind of get started with this, the question, why did it happen? The IRS just took money out of my bank account, they levied me. Well, that's not really the way it works. The IRS can't simply levy a taxpayer's bank account. If they have, you can appeal that and deal with it because they're not permitted to do that by law. So the IRS's processes, they're required to send a variety of notices. There's a whole group of notices that go out to taxpayers prior to a levy. And included in that is a final notice of intent to levy. And that final notice of intent to levy also notifies the taxpayer of their collection due process rights. This final notice is usually a letter 11 or a letter 1058, depending, and it all depends on which area of the IRS it comes out of, but predominantly letter 11. And if you're not aware of your collection due process rights, three things happen. You get an appeal. Your account is put on hold for collection purposes until the appeal, which means they can't levy you. And it reserves your right to take your case to U.S. tax court should you choose to in the future. You have 30 days to request your CDP hearing. Always request it for the reasons I told you just a moment ago. So if you don't request it within 30 days, the IRS then, after that 30-day period, has authorization to levy the taxpayer. So as you can see, it's probably taken months or maybe even years to get to this point. So it is so important when you get that final notice to deal with it, and hopefully before then. So how does a bank levy work? Well, there's two kinds of levies. There's one-time levies and continuous levies. A payroll check would be an example of a continuous levy. Once the IRS sends your employer information related to a garnishment, it's going to keep happening on every paycheck until it's taken care of. Bank levies are not like that. It's one time. If there's a bank levy sent for today, they get my money for today that the bank received it. They don't get it tomorrow. They don't get it yesterday. They get today's balance. An example of that is just I have here my bank balance today is $200. Tomorrow I get $10,000 or $9,800. I deposit it in my account. It has a $10,000 balance tomorrow. Today is when the bank received the valid IRS levy. Well, they get the $200 that's in there today. They don't get tomorrow's money. In order to levy my account a second time, they'd have to go through the process. And on that day that the bank received it, they would get the balance in the account at that time. So they do have the right to levy again in the future, but they have to go through the process. Now, the bank holds on to the funds for 21 days prior to releasing them to the IRS. So it gives you time, if you act quick enough and you do the right things, that potentially you could get the IRS to release the levy amount back to the taxpayer, or a portion of it in some cases. So what can I do once I'm levied? Contact the IRS immediately. Communicate your willingness to resolve the issue. That's very important. You want them to start working with you to resolve it. Request that the IRS return your funds. They don't have to, but they can release it back, and they can release part of it. For example, just real quickly, if you have to pay, they've taken all of your money and you need to pay $1,000 for rent. You need $1,000 for food until $200 for food until your next paycheck. You might be able to justify to them to release back $1,200 of it so that you can survive. I mean, the IRS is going to work with you unless you have a past of which prompts them not to work with you, or you show no willingness to work with them or even request it. So I would request it, and you may have to justify why you need certain funds. So the IRS is next going to request certain things from you. cooperate, whatever it is. You know, you may need to file missing tax returns. For a lot of your tax resolution alternatives, you have to be in tax compliance, which means those tax returns have to be filed. They might request financial information from you, financial disclosure statement, 433 series. It can be painful to go through. It may take some time, but you're going to have to do it. And they may request other information. Do whatever is reasonable in order to get you to where you need to resolve your issue. So next, you're going to have to provide them with an acceptable settlement resolution. The three main ones are an installment agreement, offer and compromise, or currently not collectible. You know, I do have videos on all of these, so if you want to learn more about them or it's something we can help you with, we do it every day. Last thing, follow through with all your promises. If you promise to get them the tax returns or you promise to get them the financial information and you don't, they're not going to help you a second time. So make these promises, get them what they need, find an acceptable resolution, and follow through and keep your promises. And you'll find it, and there will be light at the end of the tunnel. You can find a solution. If you've been levied from the bank, if your bank account's been levied, I hope you found this helpful. Or if you're under threat of levy and you're wondering how a bank levy works, I hope you found it helpful. If you need help with a levy or any other IRS issue, please give me a call. My name's Bob Jablonski. It's 972-821-1991. And my email is bob@jablonskiandassociates.com. Thank you all for listening and have a great day.